Hey guys, how's it going? Michael Troy here. Today we're looking at Megaton number 3, featuring a very early appearance of Erik Larsen's Savage Dragon. Check out the power and awesomeness of this dope cover. Cannot wait to share it with you guys. So subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button and let's get right into it. Okay, so as is the case with things like this, there's a little bit of, I don't know, like question mark around historically the significance of this. So Savage Dragon appeared in Erik Larsen's self-published graphic fantasy number 1 and 2, which was self-published, like very limited print run, whatever. But I mean, it still counts, right? And then he would make a redesigned appearance in the pages here of Megaton number 3, Battling Vanguard. So it is like the first like official publication appearance of Dragon, I guess. I mean, I know this book is worth something, as it should be. It is so cool. I love this cover. It's always interesting to see the evolution of an artist that you like. You know, I was introduced to Erik's work on Doom Patrol and pretty much followed him ever since then. But I love seeing the early appearances. Interesting to note the signature, like so much of Erik's art is pretty much already here. Like you can see so much potential in it. It's like so good. So Erik, this is, you know, Megaton number 3. So Megaton is like the anthology that launched Berserker and, you know, Vanguard and, you know, gave Erik Larsen, Rob Liefeld, Butch Weiss their starts, kind of. You know, they would work on these Megaton books and then go and be discovered by Marvel and DC and go on to great fame. So anyway, this is like, it's funny though, because, you know, if you're a fan of Erik Larsen's, and you probably are if you're watching this video, but, you know, we've all known that Erik created Dragon when he was a kid, and he's basically been making comic books since, you know, he could, and just at one point transitioned into getting paid to do that. So it's no wonder that there's so many like great things going on here. I love the splash page here. Also interesting, you know, you talk about the reworked like version of Dragon. Like he's called Paul Dragon. In his initial appearance, I think he's called Paul here. And then when the Dragon series would launch, he didn't know who he was. And you know that there's all kinds of different dragons now. Malcolm Dragon, Paul Dragon, Dead Dragon, Savage Dragon, She Dragon. Anyway, I really think that, like I said, the potential here is like so good. It's interesting because this is Larsen inking himself. And he hasn't completely developed his style here, but, you know, a lot of it is here as far as the storytelling, some of the poses, just some of the establishing shots. You know, this isn't his first comic book. I mean, he's been making comic books forever, and I think that there is a confidence in the art that supports the lack of polish that would come later. The choreography of these fight scenes is insane. I just like this establishing shot with Dragon coming out of shadow. Like, it's really no wonder why Larsen would go on to become, you know, so prolific and have such a long, endearing career. You know, he writes, pencils, and inks Savage Dragon. He colors Ant. I think he's colored a few issues of Savage Dragon. Speaking of stock poses, not necessarily stock poses, but, you know, a lot of artists have like sort of their go-tos and stuff. And I was instantly reminded of the great pinup of Berserker that Erik Larsen did. That is pretty much this pose here. So that might have been one of his go-to poses. I'm sure he still uses it. You know, a lot of artists do. I think of someone like John Byrne. Definitely artists have their own tropes as far as, you know, go-to tricks and shots that they will use. This is amazing. Like for like the first published like story written and drawn by Erik Larsen, we're already getting a glimpse of like the 2-page spread that he would become so well known for and so adept at. Like, I can't think of much wrong with the storytelling here. You know what I mean? And in some of the art, it's a little crude, just a little bit though. Like, I mean, it's really like kind of astonishing how good this is. And I can't help but think, like, since he's so used to making his own comics and stuff, it must have really killed him to break into comics and have to work with other writers. I'm not sure. You know, I interviewed him and I don't remember if I asked him about what it was like working with other writers versus writing for himself. But, you know, I don't know. Sometimes, you know, collaborations are a lot of fun. But so this is basically like a big Kirby Marvel knockdown fight scene. I mean, you can't help but think of the Hulk when you see this cover, right? 16 pages written and drawn by a super young Erik Larsen, predating his work on Doom Patrol, Spider-Man, and, you know, Dragon and Image. Like, it's pretty freaking amazing, guys. Like, this book is worth a lot, I feel. So if you ever are lucky enough to come across it, snatch it, trust. And then we have this gorgeous Megaton mini portfolio, the aforementioned. One thing I did want to say before I go into that is the insane amount of details, like these cityscapes and all these buildings and stuff. It was giving me like early unpolished Perez vibes, who would also go on to become such a great like major artist. Like, look at this, like the perspective to be such a newbie, or like and do this like bird's eye view and draw all the buildings. Like, that's insane. Erik Larsen is a beast, and he's been using a lot of like photo stats and stuff in his comics lately, so I wish he would return to that, like the hand-drawn buildings. Love that stuff. Anyway, not that I mind the mix of the photos and stuff, but it's all good. So we have this Megaton portfolio. This is interesting. Mike Gustovich of Justice Machine fame drew this, and Gary Carlson inked it, even though he admits he's not the best inker. So it's kind of interesting to see that. S. Clark Hawbaker, one of my favorite Megaton artists. Like, this is so good. Neil Adams vibes all the way. Love the zibbatone. Love the photorealism that he's using. The contrast. So good, right? And then we have, is that Angel Medina? Yeah, I think it is. Love Angel Medina. Another artist who Megaton / Big Bang launched. Here we have Ethrian, the backup story. This is Frank Fosco's book, Ethrian, co-written by Gary Carlson. This is amazing. Like, what an underrated artist. Like, this art is so good. The use of blacks, the zibbatone here, the spotting of the blacks, the silhouettes is just amazing. I mean, check out the splash page. It's gorgeous. This has like deep sci-fi vibes all over it. It's giving me a little bit of like Jack Kirby's, you know, New Gods. I have to say, like with Erik Larsen, even George Perez, who I mentioned, and seeing it in Frank Fosco too, you can tell that these guys love Jack Kirby. And it just goes to show what a grand master education being a fan of Kirby is, because you pick up so many great things. And I see so much of it throughout so many of the artists in this universe. Story, Gary Carlson and Frank Fosco, co-plotters. Pencils, Frank Fosco. Inks, Mike Matthew. I'm so glad that I can mention this. Mike Matthew is definitely one of the unsung heroes of Megaton Big Bang. He is one of those really great polished inkers who is sort of a chameleon and invisible at the same time. Like, he's inked so many different artists on these books, and he always just like makes them look better and just brings so much detail and depth to the page. It is just gorgeous. So he is definitely a talented inker. Like, I miss the days of penciler inker combination. Everyone's pretty much inking their own stuff now, which is great. Like, I always feel that an artist's work, if they can ink, is usually benefited when they ink themselves, and it always looks the best inked by themselves. But as you know, there are so many killer penciler inker team combos out there throughout history. Burnt Austin, you know, Lee Williams, you know, like just so many that I can't even think of right now, right? But you know what I'm talking about. I mean, obviously, Joe Sinnott and Jack Kirby, um, you know, just so many. Anyway, I love this panel. I love this. I love the black with stars. You know, it's so funny. Like, I always think of things like this as the old dinosaur that I am, you know. This is all done digitally now with the black with the stars. And, you know, it had to be done before. It was probably laid out in black. And then the white ink was laid down with all the little stars. And, I mean, you just think of an anchor sitting there doing all that crap. And it's kind of insane, right? Anyway. I mean, the art is just next level. This is beautiful. It works so well in black and white. I can't help but kind of want to see it in color. But, I mean, this is like sci-fi greatness. Like, it's very, like, He-Man in a way, but sort of like for adults. You know what I mean? It's not, like, dumbed down in any fashion whatsoever. I love it. I think it's terrific. I'm like ready to dive into more Ethrian here. I will tell you that. Another great page. Like, look at that. This is so good. And this just goes to show the power of storytelling. Also, the best thing about reading old comic books, thought balloons. Give me all of the tropes that make comic books great. Thought balloons, sound effects, you know, just whatever. We all know. We all know. This is so much fun. As usual, it's like you read these, you know, thinking they're good or whatever, having fond memories of them. And especially with Big Bang and Megaton, they're so much better than you could ever possibly imagine. They're so good. Gary Carlson is just like one of the best writers. He can write any genre. The art is always next level and beautiful. There's always a treat that you never know what you're gonna expect. I was looking for famous names in the mail column, and this font is so tiny and horrifying. I didn't see any major names. Sometimes you do. But I'm like, I'm not gonna read all that. You know, I think that small fonts, I've run into this problem before in comic books, and you have to remember that the majority of your audience is men over 40. So please, readable print. Oh, yes, right? Looking for heroes, then you're looking for Megaton. Okay, so, you know, I thought it would, like, Megaton needs a big bang treatment. Like, we need a big Megaton anthology featuring Berserker, Megaton, Vanguard. Frank can bring Ethrian. Why not? This should be the cover. Erik can redo it. What do you say, guys? Are you game? I would love to see that. Let's see, Megaton number 4. Did we get the follow-up? I guess I'm gonna have to find out. Anyway, I love that page right there. So good. Vanguard needs to make a comeback like yesterday. He is so good. Would love to see that. No reason any of these characters should be languishing in obscurity. Another banger from Megaton Comics number 3 that would lead to Dragon and Image Comics and Big Bang and all kinds of goodness. Such a moment in time. It's such a great comic book. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that like button, and I will bring you more soon.